Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. But who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And he's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled, action-packed episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, criminal defense lawyer, board-certified criminal defense lawyer by the National Board of Trial Advocacy and by the Minnesota State Bar Association, which means I go to court and I try cases. I don't just sit there and hold your hand, okay, plead guilty. No, that's not what I do. Anyway, we are reacting to the January 6th. Now, here's the thing. This is a very political thing, right? And I'm super not political. I definitely have my opinions on certain things. You know, I think Biden's too old, and I think Trump's too corrupt. I'm kind of middle of the road. I'm more of a moderate. I'm socially liberal, financially conservative. But who gives a shit about what I am? All right. But what fascinates me about it's the legal implications of what's going on with the January 6th committee. Okay. And this is not a political dogfight for me. I could give a flying fuck less what party you are. I mean, are we all Americans? Are we Americans? Fucking right we are. Would we pick up arms and defend each other if it came to that? Whether you're black, white, Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter. We're all Americans. Now, I got to give a shout out here to Sally. Sally, you're hilarious. So I got a request from one of our fans. Bruce, I am the president of the Bruce Rivers fan club. Didn't know there was one. The Port Orford, Oregon division. I have been asked by your extremely devoted fans, cocktails, and BR video at my place once a week with increasing incoherent discussion to pretty please break down the January 6th hearing in Bruce speak so we can all understand what the fuck is going on. That would be so bitchin'. And so I'm trying to make some hippies happy here, okay? So today, Patrick Cipollone, the president's counsel to the president, is going to testify before the January 6th committee. I don't think it's going to be televised, but it is going to be recorded. And I guarantee you they have ground rules that they're going to respect. He wasn't going to testify, but with the way everything is kind of closing in on Trump, he decided to testify. Now, keep in mind that the people that have already testified are not Democrats. These are people around Trump. His own daughter believed that, the election was fair. His former Attorney General Barr, he has testified that he's full of bullshit and blah 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 blah. Well, Cipollone was in the room and he's the one trying to talk Trump off the ledge. Off of what ledge, you might ask? Well, let's look at the term seditious conspiracy. That's 18 U.S. Code 2384. So the criminal code, the United States criminal code starts with usually either 18 or 21. So that's the chapter, and then you have the subsection. And this is 18 U.S. Code 2384. So this is what seditious conspiracy is. If two or more persons in any state or territory or in any place subject to the jurisdiction of the United States conspire to overthrow, put down, or destroy by force the government of the United States, or to levy war against them, or to oppose by force the authority thereof, or by force to prevent, hinder, or delay the execution of any law of the United States, or by force to seize, take, or possess any property of the United States, contrary to the authority thereof, they shall each be fined under this chapter or imprisoned not more than 20 years or both. So let's break that down a little bit. We're not really talking about the necessarily overthrow the government, although that's really kind of what it was. It's really the interference with the election, okay? Opposed by force of the authority by force to prevent, hinder, delay the execution of any law of the United States. And that would be the election. Cipollone, first of all, he can't really claim privilege. He probably has some ground rules. I'm not going to talk to you about what Trump said to me. if you look at the whole, the idea of a presidential privilege, that is invoked by the sitting president. Executive privilege is invoked not by the former president. He doesn't have any authority at that point. It's by the sitting president of the United States. And Patrick Cipollone isn't the personal representative of Donald Trump. He is the White House counsel. He's the counsel to the presidency, not the president. Does that make sense? So it means that he represents the office of the presidency, not the individual who's holding the office. So that becomes a tricky thing for him because he's a Republican. He's going to be in front of a bunch of Democrats and two Republicans. Liz Cheney, here's the thing. I did not like Liz Cheney initially. And if you look at how laser she's been on this committee and the amount of evidence that they've accumulated, they've kind of chiseled away on the outside, and they're now getting closer and closer and closer to these confidants, these people who are very close to Trump, and were in the room on January 6th. So the idea here is that you've got three things, four things, five things going on at the same time. You've got the January 6th hearings, and those are just historical. I mean, there's really not much that's going to come out of these hearings except for to make things public, make it transparent. The Department of Justice, however, is a completely different animal. So if you remember, John Eastman was on the stage, and you've got trial by combat issued by Rudy Giuliani. You've got John Eastman, who I think is in the thick of things. And then you have Clark, who is purported to be the next head of justice, who had absolutely no business being the head of justice. And so basically you have a person in Trump who is scrambling like hell to hang on to power. And you've got the Proud Boys. There's connections there. Cipollone hopefully will be open, and I don't think they would have him testify if they didn't have something significant that he was going to say, and know the ground rules and know that his testimony is going to be impactful. This is probably the most impactful witness so far, and he was trying to talk Trump out of doing some things. And so this whole idea that January 6th was set up to delay and to disrupt the free and fair election of 2020 is really what this whole January 6th and the Department of Justice investigation is all about. Now the FBI confronted John Eastman right outside of a restaurant and took his phone. And, it's a little late. It's like a year later, basically, a little more than a year later. So if I were him, I would have had a new device by then. But it remains to be seen exactly how that's going to play out. But the fact that that certain people have been charged with failure to obey the subpoenas. Subpoenas are a lawful order. They're an order from Congress. And so you got Steve Bannon. He's gonna. I mean, that's a slam dunk because he just flat refused to acknowledge the subpoena. And so he'll be found in contempt, and he could get a year in jail or two. You've got other confidants that are very close to Trump, that they have either testified or that they're going to testify. And so this whole thing about the January 6th committee is all about seditious conspiracy. It's really not that complicated. And everything that they've talked about in the committee, and you can watch all these various people who have testified about Trump's actions and what he did or didn't do on that particular day. He wanted this mob to overthrow the government. He wanted the mob to take hold and do what Pence didn't do. He wanted Pence to not certify the election and to replace the electors with fake electors. I mean, you've got an investigation in Georgia and we know about that, where he says, "Well, we only need 11,000 some odd votes, 2 more than we already have." I mean, give me a break, honestly. And that's what he was like pleading with them. Come on, fellas, give me a break. He's pleading with them, and so you've got a grand jury in Georgia on that issue. I mean, you've got a Manhattan DA who's looking into his finances. You've got the Department of Justice who's investigating this, and heads are going to roll. Heads have already rolled. They've already charged some of the Proud Boys with seditious conspiracy. So you watch what's going to happen with Cipollone. Patrick Cipollone is the counsel to the presidency, and he's supposed to testify today, and it'll be very interesting to see where this goes. But like I said, I'm fascinated from a criminal law standpoint. I don't have a dog in this fight. Do I want President Trump elected? I don't really want him elected because it's just too much fucking controversy. I want boring. I want boring in the White House. I want the stock market to go up. I want everybody to have jobs. I want healthcare to be what it is. So I'm not a huge political person. This is pivotal, though. Our democracy should be the envy of the world, because we've had the peaceful transition of power for over 200 years, and look what we have now. We're so divided. We're so divided, and we need to get back to a place, but we're not there, and we're not going to be there for a while. So when you have somebody like Patrick Cipollone testifying, I encourage you all to kind of take in what's going on, because this is all about the delay, the interference, the overthrow of an election. That's what this is about. And it's under 18 U.S. Code 2384. It'll be a while before any big names come to fruition. I mean, you saw in Georgia, Lindsey Graham was subpoenaed, and they're fighting the subpoena. They have absolutely no grounds to fight the subpoena. It's a criminal subpoena. To say that a prosecutor can't subpoena somebody to a grand jury is ridiculous, especially when there's a connection there. And Lindsey Graham called the Secretary of State. What was he calling for? He was doing Trump's bidding. That's what he was doing. So there's so much going on this January 6th thing. Don't get lost in the weeds on it. It's actually pretty simple. What is a conspiracy? Conspiracy is an agreement between 2 or more people to commit a crime. And the crime here is the delay of an action of Congress, to interfere with a lawful function of government. And that's what that seditious conspiracy is all about. So, you watch. Eastman's going to get charged. You watch. And to charge a former president is huge. It's never been done in our nation's history. So it can't just be done reflexively. It has to be done with thought. It has to be done with an air motherfucking tight case. You cannot, you can't do it just, like some of these prosecutors. I tried a case a few weeks ago, and at the end of the state's case, the judge threw it out. You can't have that kind of thing happen. You have to have an airtight case, because he will have lawyers, and he will have good lawyers, I would hope. And then you've got the other investigation into his fundraising. I mean, he's putting all this money into his pocket. He's raised, $250 million for the Election Defense Fund, and it was all bullshit. I mean, if I'm donating to that Election Defense Fund and I'm seeing that he's donating the money I gave him to Mark Meadows' charitable foundation, $1 million. How does that help? That's a problem for him. So he has so many legal irons in the fire, it's ridiculous. So this has just been our little take on the January 6th committee. You guys, I want your comments. We'll chat about it offline, and we'll talk to you next time on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, board-certified criminal defense lawyer. Make sure you subscribe, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, Sign up for Patreon. We're doing some good work there. And Sally, tip one for me. Next time, Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Bruce Rivers. Okay, I'm part of
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away.
23-hour lockdown, police is at my call.